Thank you. Thank you very much.
Item number 3. Is there any additions to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion that we approve the agenda as it is.
Been moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Councillor Cunningham, Trevor Cunningham. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Item number 5 is a declaration of any conflict of interest. If any councillor noticed anything, they can declare it now, or when the item comes up for discussion, if they would declare it. Item number 6, the presentations. It is postponed to April 22nd, the subdivision bylaw S-0810-97 repeal. I need a motion to postpone that. Don't need a motion? No, okay, sorry. 6.2, the postponement of the public hearing for subdivision bylaw, second reading, and the postponement to April 22nd, public hearing amendments to the municipal planning strategy to the 22nd of April. Item number 7, approval of the minutes of February 12th, 2020 and February 26th, 2020. Who wishes to make that motion? Councillor Gerard?
I'll move to approve the minutes of the February the 12th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes and February the 26th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried. Number 8, business arising from the minutes. 8.1, travel and expense policy T-088-17 repeal. Councillor Durkee?
I'll make a motion to repeal travel and expense policy.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Allen. Seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying, oh, sorry, Victoria. You're on
You're
mute.
Muted.
You're muted.
You're on mute, Victoria.
Sorry about that. If we could just amend the motion to clarify what policy number, Councillor Durkee?
Yeah, sorry, I flipped over and just had the new one on my phone. So to amend that policy, add T-088-17.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm okay with that amendment
Okay.
as a seconder.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. 8.2, travel and expense policy P-088-20. Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel and expense policy T-088-20.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried. 8.3, film policy F-046-20. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the filming policy F-046-20.
Do we have a seconder for that?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Cushion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. 8.4, surplus land policy. S-0810-09, repeal. We have again, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to repeal the surplus land policy S-0810-09.
Second.
Who seconded it? Gerard?
Gerard.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. And where am I at here? 8.5, the surplus land policy. S-0810-20. Do we have a mover? Again, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion to approve the surplus land policy S-0810-20.
Seconded. Again, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any discussion on that motion or on that policy? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Item number 9, new business. 9.1, notice of motion. Deputy Warden John Cunningham, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I move that council rescind the motion made on February 26, 2020, regular council meeting to support the splash park being placed at the Mariners Center facility.
It's been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Do we have a seconder?
Second for discussion.
It's been moved by the Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. All in favor? Signify.
I'd like,
Oh,
well, we'd like discussion on the motion, I think.
Notice to the CAO. Do we do the vote first, then a discussion on a notice of motion?
No,
Okay. Okay.
no, so this is, the motion is not notice of motion. The motion is to repeal the main motion. So there's a requirement for discussion if that's the will of council.
Okay. Okay, the floor is open. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This motion directly contradicts council's asset management policy, policy number A-088-20. This policy was only passed on January 22nd, 2020. On January 8th, item 8.2 in the Committee of the Whole Council had a presentation by the Yarmouth Splash Park Committee, and they requested permission to proceed on the site of the Mariners Center, council appointment to serve on the committee, financial support, support for their fundraising, support through grants, and willingness to take over the splash park. The asset management policy applies to all assets and owned and managed by the municipality, but excludes anything jointly owned or managed by a separate entity, like number 1, the International Airport, the Solid Waste Park, the Port of Yarmouth, Harbour South and Pubnico Medical Clinics, Wellington Windmills, and the Mariners Center. To my knowledge, we don't know the life cycle costs, operational, maintenance, and decommissioning costs. This particularly does not follow Part 5 of the Asset Management Policy, which I just mentioned above. The original request for the Splash Park Committee for council to support the construction of a splash park at Mariners Center did not include what I mentioned before, which are, I'll repeat them again, the life cycle costs, the operational, maintenance, and decommissioning costs of that asset. If this project is built at the Mariners Center, we will not, as a council, have any influence on how the project is managed or built, other than a representation on the Mariners Center board. We will be responsible for the fiscal and legal risk. I'm recommending that we rescind the original motion and return this back to the committee of the whole to get the required information as per our policy, our asset management policy. I have many more questions on this whole issue that would include even if the Mariner Center board would want this asset located on the property. There's obviously been a lot of work done by the Splash Park Committee, and I commend them for that. However, we as a council must follow our policies that we have in place, or we must rescind that policy which we just passed on January 22nd and come up with a different one that may support council's wishes.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Cunningham, you had your hand up earlier, or?
Yes, I did, and I'm still in support of the project moving forward, and I know we do have that asset management policy. Having said that, this is an important project, needs to move ahead, has widespread community support. I think we do need to take a look at our asset management policy again. But again, I think this is a project that everybody wants to see move forward at the Mariner Center. The financial risk is relatively low. It's not a big project. You know, it's a few $100,000, and again, Town of Yarmouth supported it. So I think in light of trying to be collaborative with our other municipal units, I would like to continue on with the project. I think those are good reasons for doing it. I think those are the reasons people voted for it. It's for the kids. It's an outdoor activity. And again, we haven't got lots going on at the Mariner Center now in terms of capital. That's probably going to be a ways off, as I understand it. So I think this is a good small project to move the Mariner Center forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Allen, you had your hand up.
Yes, I voted against the motion the first time it was around. Not so much against the project. I think the project is a great idea. I just believe it belongs somewhere other than the Mariner Center. It's going to come down to the cost of running it, cost of putting it in. I think there's still unforeseen things that haven't been looked at. What it's going to take to hook up, what the ground is going to be where we're putting it, how far away from things. I'll be voting to rescind this. Again, not because of the Splash Park. I think it's a great project. I just don't believe it should be at the Mariner Center.
Thank you. Councillor Cushion, then Councillor Cunningham again.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. All right, there I am. I agree that, as with Councillor Allen said and Councillor Cunningham, Trevor Cunningham said, that the importance of such a project in our area. However, as for the asset management policy, we worked pretty hard on developing this policy, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to change that policy now just because of this project that came up. In support of what Councillor Allen had to say, I believe the Splash Park is a good thing, but I'm not sure if the Mariner Center is the place for it. And as our Deputy Warden said, I think we should bring it back to the committee of the whole and have a further discussion on this with the unknowns, such as the cost of running it, the cost of construction, the cost of what's the word he used, of decommissioning it. And well, there's some unanswered questions yet. Like I say, I'm not that I'm against it. I don't like the place where it is, and the fact that we have a policy, asset management policy, that we work very hard on. I don't think, personally, I don't think that our asset management policy should be revised for this one project. I think we should really discuss it further.
Thank you. Councillor Trevor Cunningham again.
Right. For this motion to overturn the previous motion, which we voted in favor of moving forward, it's not a simple 50% the majority, correct?
I'll take that, Mr. Warden. So
yeah,
in Robert's Rules of Order, a motion to rescind is a main motion. So where notice of motion has been given, we're only required to have a simple majority.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
If notice of motion hadn't been given, it would be a 2/3 requirement.
Okay, and I just would like to say that, you know, we did approve it, so that I think that all of the things that we voted for still are the same essentially. So I'm going to vote against the motion to rescind.
Councillor Daniel Allen, Lauren Cushion, then Patty.
Oh, no.
Just to add, we see you, Gerard. Just to add,
You didn't see me.
just to add to what I was saying before, I could probably be convinced for it to go to the Mariner Center upon further more information as far as what I was bringing up as the costs. I'm sure there's got to be some type of estimate on what it's going to take to hook to the, you know, we don't know until they start digging in for piping. Things like this haven't been looked at as far as I'm concerned. So I think we're kind of approving it haphazardly. With that type of information and depending on the costs, I may be willing to say, yes, I'd go to the Mariner Center, but at this time, I feel like I cannot. So that's all.
Okay. Councillor Cushion, then Patty, then Councillor LeBlanc.
Councillor Durkee.
Okay, my hand was up mistakenly. I think Gerard was the one who asked
Oh.
first.
Okay, then Councillor Durkee, I guess, then Councillor Gerard.
Yes, Councillor Durkee. In light of the fact that our Mariner Center project is quite a ways out, I feel that that if we have an opportunity to put forth something where other people do all the work and that we just have to support at this point, that it would be very helpful to our community. So I support the splash park going forward. This letter, right, this is just a letter of support to put it at the Mariner Center at the moment. So I would still support the original motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, I wasn't going to speak because Trevor said everything that I wanted to say, but I support the splash park, and I see that the Mariner Center is the best place for it to go. If it goes somewhere else, we're still going to pay for it ourselves. It's going to be the three municipalities. Is Argyle's in it also, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the best place for me. Yes, Victoria.
Oh, I was just getting in the queue whenever the warden's ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's the best place for it to go. And it's like Patty said, now that the big project at Mariner Center is, we don't know where that's going to go, and this is something for the kids, and it's right there, right in the middle of the busiest part of Yarmouth, and it would be great to look like for the kids. And I support that. I'm against the motion.
CAO, you had.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So I just want to pick up on a couple of points that council have raised. So it was stated that everybody wants it. We don't know that. We haven't actually engaged the public. We don't know how our 9,800 residents feel about it. While the town and Argyle have supported this, they've done it with slightly different lenses. So for the town of Yarmouth, this is a great opportunity for them to have a splash park in their jurisdiction and share the risk with three other legal entities. So the Mariner Center Corporation, the Municipality of Argyle, and the Municipality of Yarmouth. And they create a revenue source because they own the water utility. And this splash park is not a closed loop splash park. It will be a continuous feed. So all of the water that's consumed at the park will be a revenue stream for the town of Yarmouth. I don't agree that it's a small project. So it's at least $300,000 in capital, not including the life cycle and decommissioning costs. Our share of that will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 33%. And when you put that in light of the other capital projects we have on our horizon, I would suggest that it might put you in a position where you may have to pick and choose. I want to bring something to your attention that nobody has raised. So the proposal was that the splash park would be built and it would be more or less a self-serve service. Individuals who wanted to use the park, they could come in and there would be a mechanism in place to turn the water on, and then people could use the asset when they're there, and that it wouldn't be a staffed recreation asset. I'm not sure how the citizen reps on the Mariner Center board would feel about that, based on the limitations of directors' errors and omissions liability. If a child was to get hurt or somebody was to get hurt there and we don't man it, we don't know the answer to that question yet. The request before you is not a letter of support. The request before you is to give permission to the Mariner Center Corporation to allow the asset to be built there. And finally, if the asset is not built at the Mariner Center, but Modi continues to want to support it through a capital contribution and maybe even an ongoing operating contribution, it limits your legal liability, it limits your risk, it limits your exposure. So for all those reasons, as your CAO, I recommend that you rescind the motion until you can get all the information to make a completely informed decision.
Councillor Cunningham?
Right, as far as the insurance piece goes, I mean, I would assume that it would, once the Mariner Center, manages the asset once it's built, that the insurer would make some recommendations around how it had to be supervised, and I would expect while people are there that there'd have to be some level of supervision. That would seem reasonable. So and again, that would be something that the board would have to take up with the insurers. And there's lots of activity, high risk activity going on at the Mariner Center, obviously with hockey and all the other sporting activities. So this would be I think comparatively a relatively low risk activity, although certainly there's some risk, and the insurers would work that into the policy. It's it's only a couple of months of the year likely, so it would be used maybe 2.5 months. So again, those are things that can be looked into. But I think if we go too much into the details, it's a matter of funding the project, getting it done. Certainly there'll be need for the work sooner rather than later in Yarmouth. I think it's a good project we can move forward with and manage effectively, and it will be good for the kids and good for the community and good for our collaboration with the other two units as well. Thanks.
Deputy Warden, then Councillor LeBlanc.
I think a couple of you inadvertently made my point in regards to the cost and stuff. There's no argument from me about how it would benefit the community and the kids and stuff. My responsibility is to the ratepayers of the municipality district of Yarmouth, and there's a whole bunch of questions that are laying out there, like the staffing. We don't know if it has to be staffed. It's going to be required by the insurance companies. Liability insurance is big. I own a small business, and let me tell you, there's a slip and fall there. You best have good liability insurance, and liability insurance is not cheap. We don't even know where all the sources of the capital funding is, and yes, if it was to be built there and the other councils decided that they were going to be put in there, it'd be split a third. But that project, until we get some answers, the legacy of that project could come back to haunt councils in the future. It's just, we're not doing our homework. It's almost like me building a performance car and building it from, say, instead of I'm going to have a completely built engine, I'm going to throw on the best carburetor out there. But by God, what's inside of it, I don't know what's going to happen with that. You've got to start from the small details and work yourself out. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. I think we jumped at this decision to go forward with the splash park because it's a great thing for the community, and I don't disagree. I'm not even going to get into the discussion on placing it there in the Mariner Center. Wherever this is built, we have to do our homework in that regards in order to be fiscally responsible to the ratepayers of the municipality district of Yarmouth. That's my whole point. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Yes, I guess I'm thinking about it a little different. Couldn't it be added on to the Mariner Center policy? And plus, we have a what do they call that? A skate park downtown. There's the YMCA. There's the baseball parks in Hebron. Who insures them? Is it more dangerous than any of those for the kids? Like the one downtown. What did they call that with the surfboards there?
Yeah, skate park.
Yeah, they go up and they can fall and break their neck. I'm sure that the town's got that all insured. I think the part about the insurance is we're going overboard at that because the pool, the YMCA, that's as dangerous as can be. Somebody can drown. In other words, what's the big deal?
Really? I can't believe you said that.
Okay. Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can tell you from experience that I have been to splash parks. There is maintenance, there's no question. You've got water pipes coming in and they'll be need to be checked and fixed and etc. They were never supervised. When I was there, there were 2 different places in Toronto that we used to go with our kids, and ran quite smoothly. I've never heard of incidents where there was actually one in my neighborhood where there were issues, but absolutely there are liability issues. We have Cape for Shoe. That's a huge liability.
Yes.
People on those rocks. So I think there's a lot of details that are still to be determined, but for the overall picture and what we're trying to accomplish, I would like to go ahead with it. I still think it's a good project. And I think there's lots of details that we may have to work out along the way. We haven't agreed to all of those things yet, but what we're saying is we are giving permission for them to build at the Mariner Center, and I'm okay with that location as well.
Okay. Councillor Allen, then Councillor Cushion.
I guess I understand what Councillor LeBlanc was saying, and I guess that's part of my point. I know it's kind of I just hate to throw caution to the wind on a project like this. I think it's a project that's going to need some focus. We're granting someone permission to build it on our property, and I just think if someone was building it on my property, I would want to know my liabilities and all that before I would give anyone permission to build anything on a property that belonged to me. I think anyone else in this room would say the same thing. So that's just my view. I do agree, Councillor LeBlanc, about the liability and stuff. I just oppositely, I think it is a big deal. I don't think it's not a big deal. But anyway, that's just my opinion. So I'm ready to go to a vote anytime.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cushion, then Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, again, the liability, I think it is a big deal, I believe. But doing our homework, as I had mentioned in other projects, it's very important for us to do our homework before we invest any money. As for the splash park itself, I have no problem with a splash park. personally, I don't like the location, but that's only me. So I'll go along with, when the decision does come to have a flash track, I will certainly support it. But I'd like to do our homework first, as Councillor Deputy Warden had mentioned, right? So I think it's very important for us to do our homework if we're going to spend any amount of money as it is, and look at the big picture.
Okay, Councillor LeBlanc, then the CAO.
Yeah, am I missing something? We haven't given anybody the go-ahead and build it without being approved, right?
Right.
Actually, that's what your original motion does. It gives permission for the Mariner Center to handle the project, and if they say yes, it will happen.
That answer your question, Councillor?
And we've got no say in it.
Correct.
This is our say.
Okay,
Okay, CAO, you had.
okay, that changes. I didn't realize it was gone that far.
CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So, there's options available to the council. If you do rescind your original motion, a conditional motion following up saying philosophically you're in support of the project, but here are the information items you need before you give final approval is an appropriate motion. I think it signifies council's general support for the project, but it honors your policy and it says, we need these things before we can give final approval. And so that option is available to council, and I think it satisfies all that you're all trying to accomplish.
Okay.
Okay, was there any further? I have a couple of comments, if I may. I don't believe that at any time that this council has been against a splash park as per se. We all realize that recreation for young people and so on is an important asset to have. I also believe that there was some questions that our council was not given information, but I don't believe the questions were ever asked. I understand we were presented with information pertaining to the size, what it would cost to install the splash park. But in that presentation, there was no information on what it would cost to hook this facility into the town system. I believe also that it stated in the presentation that the electrical building, the pump building or whatever, would be at our expense. That would be another cost onto the splash park. The splash park, as I'm going to say, was the concrete with the fixtures and the plumbing. That was it. And then they will walk away. We, the councils, would have to hook into the water system. We'd have to hook into the drain system. We would have to build a building. I don't know if it would be a 10 by 10 or a 30 by 30 building to house the electrical equipment and the pumps. I have no idea. Also, would this just be an open concept where anybody could go there at 11 o'clock at night, or would it be fenced in? If there was going to be a fence around it to give it some parameters, there's a cost in doing that and so on. I believe our council and you as councillors are in favor of a splash park, but I believe that there is some other things that should be information given to us so that we can make a proper decision. And is the Mariner Center the very proper place for it? Is there a better place for the full concept? They had stated Beacon Park. It's a nice area. There's parking at the church facility, on the street. It has a nice concept. It's sheltered and so on. So maybe some other concepts or some other places. But that's just my feeling. I can't support, I will support the Deputy Warden's motion at this time. But since there was nobody else, I'm going to give the Deputy Warden one last chance to speak, and then we'll go to the motion. Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My points have been made. However, depending on how this motion goes, I'm prepared to make another motion to contact the splash park in regards to get the data that we require as per our asset management policy. I don't want this to fall on its face. It's just that I want to have all the information in front of me to make an informed decision. So depending on how this motion goes, we'll see. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the motion? Oh, go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc, and that's it.
No, I must apologize because I didn't realize that they could, basically what you are saying, that the Mariners Board could start construction right away if we approve this.
CAO? You're right.
Sort of. They would have the authority to move ahead with the project. Now, there are elements. So first of all, it wouldn't be the Mariner Center building it. It would be a group of volunteers in our community who would be raising the funds for the capital project. But the Mariner Center Board would have the authority to move ahead with that group.
Okay, could we go with John's motion and then have another approved motion to not to let them build it themselves? I mean, come on, there's got to be some kind of supervision there.
Well, I think you have to make a decision on the motion that's on the floor, and then you would have to debate any other motion in the proper way.
Question.
Okay, I'm going to call for the motion. Just question, and I'll go around the table, and I'll be starting to my left at our council table. Councillor Trevor Cunningham, your vote.
Nay.
Councillor Patty Durkee.
Nay.
Deputy Warden John Cunningham.
Yay.
Councillor Lauren Cushion.
Yay.
Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. Oh,
Nay.
I'm sorry. Councillor Daniel Allen.
Yay.
Councillor Gerard LeBlanc.
Nay.
Hey. And Warden Leland Anthony. Yay. So that is, I got to get this right. That's 4-3. CAO?
Correct.
Yeah, 4-3. So that is a passed motion. Is it not?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Mr. Chair, since that motion was approved, I'd like to make another motion that the municipality of District of Yarmouth letter be written to the Splash Park Group providing a detailed list of data required in order for the municipality of District of Yarmouth Council to make a decision on this project.
I second that.
Okay. I'm just going to wait. For Liz, can you repeat that, or John? I don't care which one gives me that motion again. It's been moved and seconded, but I just want to hear it again.
John, could you repeat it?
Yes, I can. I move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth write a letter to the Splash Park Group providing a detailed list of data required in order for the municipality of District of Yarmouth Council to make an informed decision as per our asset management policy. I hope that's the same.
Okay, it was moved.
I'll second.
No, it was moved and seconded by Gerard. Seconded it. Councillor Cushion.
Okay.
Liz, you have that?
Yep.
Okay. My one question, if I may, I'll direct it to the CAO. Is that enough? Is that covering enough for information from that committee, like life cycle, just some of the other costs? I don't know if they can find those costs, like I say, the hookup, for both water, the pump house, whatever they use, however they do it.
So the group actually has really good relationships with other communities that have splash parks, and I'm confident that they'll be able to get some historical data from some of those communities so that they may only be estimates, but at least it will be some data to help inform council's decision.
Hmm.
Yeah, because once, if I may, once the Mariner Center, once this is built on Mariner Center property, it becomes an asset of the Mariner Center. Am I right?
Correct.
We, the municipal units, are liable for any deficit that the Mariner Center runs, right?
Correct.
Not that I'm against any deficit. I don't want deficits, but we try to minimize them. And the board at Mariner Center we've made some changes to that board with elected officials to try and curb the deficit as much as possible. And they've started doing that. I don't want to end up by adding another asset that's going to drive the deficit that they have no control on. So if in John's request, in motion, there is enough information of a request, then I'm fine with that. And you're comfortable with that.
Oh, absolutely. I have an asset management policy that will tell me the types of pieces of information that we'll need. So we'll be specific in the letter: life cycle, costing, operations, estimates on the incremental increase in liability insurance, decommissioning costs.
Okay.
There's probably water testing requirements. I don't know if Department of Environment is even involved in this. We'll have to get confirmation on all of that.
Okay. Okay. I'm fine with my concerns. Was there any other counselor has any questions? If not, you ready for the motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. 9.2 in your agenda. Request for decision, your curbside collection and transportation of source separated solid waste. What is the wishes of council? Sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, I'll move that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth accept the CAO's recommendation to accept the bid and white metal collection proposal of Wasteco Limited for curbside collection and transportation of source separated solid waste in the total amount of $398,177.45 plus HST over 5 years, April 1, 2020, March 31, 2025.
Been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder?
And
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 For curiosity to the CAO, you'll be notifying the Wasteco in the next day or so because the contract is due when? April 1?
If
Go
I
ahead.
could, Mr. Warden, if you could just finish the call for the question and then I can answer your question. You didn't
Okay.
finish the call on the question.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
Okay. It's really hard. I don't know about everybody else, but if you don't do the round table on the call for the question, it's hard for me to know if all 7
Oh,
have
okay.
answered.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So were there any nays on that?
No.
Okay, good. Yep. So, yep. So what I'll do is I'll notify the vendor by email right away that their bid was accepted, but an official letter and an official contract will have to be signed.
Okay. 9.3, alternate member to the Yarmouth County Solid Waste Park Authority. That's up for, we had a discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, I'll move that Gerard LeBlanc be placed as the alternate member on the Yarmouth County Waste Park Authority.
Okay, Councillor Cushion. You
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay. Been moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Cushion. that Councillor LeBlanc sit on this as an alternate on the Solid Waste Park Committee. Go ahead, CAO.
So in 2018, we sat down and reviewed the committee appointments, and on legal entities that do not provide for an alternate in their legal documents, we removed any appointment called an alternate. It was causing ambiguity. So the waste park is one of those entities that doesn't provide for alternate board members in their governance structure. So I'm feeling like if there's something holding one of our appointees back from participating, then maybe we should look at who's sitting on the board.
Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
So when I made the motion, I'd assumed that there was a vacancy there. And apparently there's not. There's only a designated member. So really, the motion, as I've read it, it's been seconded. We're really placing the person in a spot where there's no available spot. So perhaps the better thing, through the warden to the CAO, perhaps the better thing to do is to write a letter to ask for some clarification whether they want to change their bylaws so they can have an alternate member sit. Is that correct?
Well, I think the issue is the day and time of the meeting. So we have representatives on the board who have the technical abilities and experience to serve well. I'm wondering if maybe what we shouldn't do is indicate that it's the day and time of their meeting is why we're running into trouble getting our representatives to the meeting, and ask if there's an alternate day or time that we could meet.
Councillor Cushing, you had your hand up, and then Councillor.
Yes, Mr. Warden. I understand. I know what we did in 2018 by not saying we needed an alternate for the solid waste park, but I sat on that board, and I can't stress enough how important it is for us to have these meetings. Most of the time of day is not a big problem. It's just that at times one of our members has to go on other meetings. So I think it's very important that we do have some type of, just because of the solid waste issues that are out there. I think back in 2018 when we went through this exercise, I wasn't really in favor of not having an alternate, but I went along with the rest of the council to suggest that. But since that time, I've seen a lot of developments happening at the solid waste park, and Gerard did sit there at one of our meetings, and he was well informed, and he I'm not speaking for him, but he was well informed what was going on, and he thought it was very interesting on some of the discussions that we had about what's going on at the waste park. So I think it's very important that we do have an alternate there. Just by replacing somebody else, I don't think that's the answer. Personally, that's my opinion.
Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I'd like to know is how many members do we have on that committee?
Two.
Okay, and so because they're having difficulty getting a quorum, so would it be better? I mean, there's a couple of alternatives. One would be either that the person, whoever is not able to make it, step down and have someone else who is able to make it sit on that committee. The other would be to have the bylaws of that committee changed to make sure that we could have an alternate.
Well, if I
Or
may,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or we could, ask them if there's another day and time. So I'm going to be very transparent. So it's our warden who is having difficulty making the meeting. It's our warden who is the chair of Waste Check, who sits on regional chairs, who sits on Divert. He has a complete network around solid waste built. And I think we should at least ask the question if they can change the time of day to accommodate some issues with respect to medical appointments. And if they say no, then we can revisit it. But it could be that they'll just be able to change the time of day and the problem will resolve itself.
Yeah, the other issue that they have is I can make most of their meetings, but I'm not the only one when they don't have a quorum. If I'm the only one that's not there, they can still have their meeting. But the issue that they're having is also from the town of Yarmouth sometimes, and also from the municipality of Argyle. If I don't make it and one or two also can't make it from the town or Argyle, there's not a quorum. So it's not all lying back on to myself. It's, I don't know if it's the timing. It's not usually 9 o'clock in the morning, but the meetings that I've missed have usually been special meetings they've called to approve a tender, a special meeting called because an issue has come up. And like I say, I'm not the only member that can't make it when they call those special meetings. The representative from Argyle might not be able to make it, or from the town. So they're kind of running into a bit of a problem in that respect. It's not just the municipality of Yarmouth, because as Councillor Cushing can state, I usually make the one that is usually scheduled the first Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's only once or twice that I couldn't make that early morning meeting. But all the other ones I can make less the special meetings. So Councillor LeBlanc.
When did they change their bylaws? Because I was the alternate there for quite a few years.
The CAO can answer that one.
So Councillor LeBlanc, they didn't change their bylaws, but we were appointing alternates to a legal corporation that didn't allow for alternates in their governance structure. So that would be like us having alternate councillors when the Municipal Government Act doesn't say you can have alternate councillors.
Yeah, okay.
Something.
Thank you.
So go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, so having said that, I'll withdraw with the support of the seconder. My motion, and perhaps later on I can make the same motion. I'm very supportive of Councillor Blonde, does a good job. So even because there's no position, the motion that I made, I don't think should stand. So if this, but I have another comment after that piece. I think what we need to do is we need to once we withdraw the motion, I think we need to write the chair a letter and say why we haven't approved an alternate, because there's no place in the bylaws, in their bylaws, for an alternate. And the other thing is, I mean, if the chair is, for instance, calling a meeting, I think maybe they could just simply check for a quorum. So either change the time of the meeting, but I think it really needs to be solved at the board level. I mean, those are the people that are calling the meeting and making the meeting. We're just sending a representatives. So those representatives and the board as a whole really need to make some kind of accommodation to ensure that the meetings take place with the quorum. That may be making sure that they have a quorum prior to calling the meeting. I know with the joint rec that you know, if we don't have a quorum on a certain evening, we'll go to an alternate date. And I'm not sure what their bylaws say there specifically around that. But again, I think that could be contained in the letter that we send to the chair, and they could have that discussion at the at their regularly scheduled meeting. But there are ways around this, and I think they need to debate that and come up with a way to make the meetings happen more often with the quorum. Thank you.
That agreeable with the seconder? The seconder fine with that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Just for curiosity, where it's been removed, there's no vote on, no. .4, forgive interest charges on March 31st. Who has that? Go ahead, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in light of the pandemic that's affecting all activities in Nova Scotia, I would recommend that for March 31st, 2020, Council suspend interest charges on all accounts, which would include tax accounts, sewer accounts, and other service accounts.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
So is that for giving interest for the month of March until the 31st? Because I recommend that we can, sorry, through the chair to Madam CAO. Could you please answer, and then I may have something to add to that.
Okay.
Sure,
Go
yep.
ahead.
So we calculate the interest on overdue accounts on the last business day of every month. So we can tell the system to run the financial reports at the end of March, but not to calculate and post the interest. And we can do that every month as we go along. So I can bring it to council on a month-by-month basis, and we can evaluate the situation monthly with respect to interest.
Just so, thank you very much. What I'd like to add is that I think if you want to do it monthly, that's fine. I think under the circumstances and the stress that people are going through right now, that we may want to approve it until the end of April at this point. Just a suggestion.
Well, we'd be
Yep,
looking.
so just for council's information, it's about $10,000 a month is what the cost would be, the lost revenue.
So at this time, we'd be looking for a motion to either support, as Councillor Durkee just stated, to the end of March, or even if she'd like to go to the end of April at this time. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Cunningham.
Right, and I hear Councillor Durkee, and we may have to do that April and beyond. The issue with doing it for 2 months, then are we going to do it 2 months henceforth, 2 months henceforth? We're probably better off going with the regular suggestion of 1 month. And my expectation is that we would again suspend it for the end of April and perhaps even May, and we'll see how things go. But we can monitor that and do it on a scheduled monthly basis, so everybody will know that, you know, if things don't improve, they can almost certainly expect that we would continue to approve that lack of interest or defraying the interest or canceling the interest, sorry. So having said that, I will make a motion to forgive interest charges beginning on March 31, 2020, monthly interest charges, and that council would, is discussed by the CAO previously, and we would revisit that on a monthly basis to forgive interest charges for each and every month moving forward until such time as we come out of this crisis and people are better able to contend with interest charges.
I would second that.
Councillor Allen. Okay. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. You've heard a motion. Councillor Cushing, you had your wish to speak?
Yes, I did. I think,
Okay.
you know, as Councillor Cunningham mentioned, the month by month is, I think, is the appropriate way to go. I'm in the hope that by the end of April, when that comes, I'm hoping that we're going to be all through this this pandemic, and I think we put a positive spin on that to say that hopefully we will be over it. But month by month is definitely good. It certainly gives it gives the people of the municipality of Yarmouth an opportunity to know that we're thinking of them, and we're going to do our best to try to help them out in these difficult times.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Councillor Durkee, whereas you sit on NSFM, and I know you folks have been having some conference calls and so on. What is the feeling, I guess I'll say, from some of the other municipal units around the province? If you're able to elaborate or let us know.
We haven't discussed interest. We were discussing possible deferral of taxes, but that was just a discussion and needed to go forward to the province. It was nothing
Okay.
formal about it.
Okay.
But I think now that I think about it, I think we did talk about, yes, not charging interest would be the easiest and quickest thing that would make an impact, because that's what we need to do. That's
Yeah.
we need people out, and that's why I said, April, and then I would revisit by month after that, because it's going to get worse before it starts to get better.
I believe
That
so.
being said, we'll vote on the motion on the table.
Okay. Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much. Motion carried. I'm sorry. It's a little different from sitting in the council chambers to sitting on my sofa. Item number 10 is
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I should have called this a conflict of interest on item 9.5 in regards to the Public Works one-ton truck. I'm going to declare a conflict of interest on that item, so I will be stepping away from the table, and please be noted in the meeting minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. 9.5, request for a decision for Public Works, a one-ton truck. I guess I will hand that over to the CAO is for information.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'm just waiting for my PDF to open. So when council approved the capital investment plan last year in May, included in that was the purchase of a one-ton truck for the Public Works Department. So we went to the marketplace and we published the specifications for the vehicle components. We received 3 submissions. Bruce Auto Group quoted for a 3-ton truck, and that did not meet the tender requirements. Murray GM quoted a 1-ton truck, but did not quote on the other individual specifications under the tender, so they didn't meet the tender requirements. Tusket Ford submitted a quote, and the quote complied with the tender specifications in all ways. All submissions were within the allotted budget, which was $85,000 plus HST. So it's my recommendation that we accept the bid of Tusket Ford for the supply of a 1-ton truck in the amount of $81,195.85 plus HST.
Okay. Okay, you've heard the recommendation from the CAO. I would be looking for a motion to that effect. Do we have somebody for discussion? Go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
I move that we accept the submission for the F-350 from Tusket Ford.
Been moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, perhaps the CEO could just speak to for a minute to the purpose of the vehicle for the public.
Sure. Thank you. So we currently have a 1-ton truck, which is outfitted in a similar manner, but it's reached the end of its useful life, and we're expending significant dollars on repairs and maintenance. So we're going to retire that vehicle and purchase this vehicle, which comes with warranty.
Okay, Councillor Cushion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Warden. I noticed Murray GM and Tusket Ford, they're both reputable companies, and I'm just wondering what was the big difference in the specifications of each truck. They both build the same type of truck, so I know I've tendered out on the vehicles before, and just wondering what some of the specifications.
Sure.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Warden, I can.
Yes.
Yep. So it's a great question. There were 3 main differences. First and foremost, the specifications called for a 4x4, and the Murray bid did not include a 4x4. Secondly, we had called for a very specific design in terms of the dump body on the truck, and Murray did not comply with that. And the final difference was around the snow blade. So the plow blade was only going to be steel from Murray, and it was called for to be stainless steel, and Tusket complied.
Thank you very much. That certainly answers my question. Thank you.
It's been moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Allen to purchase said vehicle from Tusket Ford. You ready for the question?
Question.
Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 10, correspondence for action 10.1. Request for letter of support per the World Championship of Double Bitted Axe Throwing. You had that in your package, and that is from the municipality of Barrington, I believe, looking for a letter of support for them to be able to hold or host the World Double Bitted Axe Throwing. So what is the wishes of council? Go ahead, Councillor Cushion.
I'll certainly support that item. I think we should move it to our grants, I believe. It's a very
they're not asking, Councillor. They're not asking any financial support. They're just asking for a letter of support.
Definitely a letter of support, yes, because it's quite an exciting thing that they do, and they have one of the champions that live right down in the Barrington area. So, yes, I'll certainly support that.
Councillor Durkee?
I agree. I think it will be a great event. I think that with the number of people that could be hosting, Yarmouth could definitely benefit. It could be through accommodations, or, I mean, we're close enough to Barrington that we'd certainly get some spin-off, and it's becoming more and more highlighted as an event. So yes, I would support writing a letter of support. So I'll make a motion to write a letter of support. So just looking to see who that goes to, and need to take my glasses off.
I think just to
Yes, it's to Chris. A letter of support from yes.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Okay, been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Cushion. Councillor Cunningham, you had your wish to speak?
No, that's fine. I was just going to make the motion, but it's already been made, so it's taken care of. Thank you.
Okay. Was there any further
question?
It's for the World Championship of Double Bitted Axe Throwing, just to add that to the motion.
It's becoming quite a sport up in Halifax. They have I believe it's a bar where they have an area caged off where you can go in and do an axe throwing kind of thing, just something different. Okay, there's been a motion made to support the Double Bitted Axe Throwing Championship. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Letter 10.1.2, letter from Yarmouth and Area Chamber of Commerce, the COVID-19 relief for taxpayers. What is the wish of the council? Discussion? Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. It is something that NSFM is discussing, and I think that, as I've mentioned, that it is something that we need to talk to the province about. I'll just say publicly that there are a lot of organizations, a lot of municipalities who might be differ but could not forgive taxes at this point, and so it's something that NSFM will be discussing with the province, but no decisions at this time.
Okay. Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would recommend that we move this to the committee of the whole. That would be happening, I think it's in 2 weeks. And therefore, Councillor Durkee, as she mentioned, the NSFM is discussing that, which she's a board member. And I think it'd be prudent that she could bring back some information on any recommendations they may have, because right now, we really, I would like to keep a continuity between all the municipal units if at all possible. That would just be my suggestion at this time, to move this to the committee of the whole.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham?
Right, there were a number of specific suggestions that were contained in the letter to us. And having said that, I think that we should write them back. And to Councillor John Cunningham's point, tell them we will be discussing their suggestions and others moving forward, and that we have in fact, as of this evening, passed a motion to forgive interest. So we can let them know that, and that we are looking at ways to support residents and businesses in municipality district of Yarmouth. And so yes, I certainly believe we should move that ahead. And if we need to have an emergency council meeting to make additional changes after we talk to our partners and formulate a plan moving forward, that's something that we could do beyond the committee of the whole suggestion, which I think is a good one.
Okay. CAO, go ahead.
To add a little more detail to the conversation. So I shared with you that the AMA had a board meeting this morning, and we talked about this very issue. So Councillor Durkee may be more aware than I am, but there's an ad hoc group that has formed, and they're chambers of commerce, boards of trade. They're lobby groups that represent the interests of businesses. And they're in regular contact with the province and NSFM and AMA. And what we're trying to do is to have a coordinated response to these questions. While they may all be worded slightly differently, I think that a response to support the business community is being called for clear across the province. So while we may be moving this item to committee of the whole in April, we may not have all the answers by then, but between Councillor Durkee and myself, we're both working on it, and we should have some of them.
Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I have a meeting tonight at 6. So if there's anything to share, I will update after the meeting via email.
Okay. That's fine then.
So, Mr. Chairman, that'll just be direction from council to provide a response to the chamber.
Yes.
Yep.
10.2 for information. Letter from Municipal Affairs and Housing. Funding stability for regional economic development. That's also in your package for information correspondence. I don't know what action, I'll ask the CEO, what action, there's no action they're asking for from the municipality?
No, that's in response to the correspondence we sent in requesting multi-year agreements between the province and the regional enterprise networks.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. The same letter was received to the REN, and it was very positive that they are considering it and studying it. So we'll have an update at some point.
Well, I believe, Councillor Durkee, that the province has seen that the RENs have been a very important part in some of the financial restructuring of the province over the last, or for municipal units over the last number of years.
Well, I can tell you this, that our REN, as Victoria knows, is a model for the rest of the province.
Yes.
And it has been extremely positive, and our Minister Chuck Porter recognizes how well they have done, particularly the Western REN. So I think they'll be hopefully supporting this request.
Yeah. Councillor Cunningham, you go ahead.
No, just errant moving my
Okay.
hand. Thanks.
Okay. I guess we're into item number 11. Is there any further business or other business of council at this time?
No.
I just want to bring something up to everyone's attention. There was going to be a Rutsack March on April 18th, 2020 at 9 o'clock. Todd Muse, a member of, he's a big supporter of this. I just wanted to put it out there. I'm not sure what's going to take place at this point. It's OSI awareness, and it's open to all veterans and non-veterans, but I'm sure with the pandemic that's going on, it'll probably get delayed. So I just wanted to put it out there. It's for a great cause when it does take place, and hopefully I'll have a little more information at our next council meeting.
What was that, Daniel? I didn't get the first part of it.
It's the Rutsack March. They march from town out to the cenotaph out in that
Maple Grove.
Maple Grove.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
You know, is there any further? You know, a lot of community events and a lot of volunteer organizations have had to change the way they do things. And one of the things, and I fully understand it, is the Meals on Wheels that is done, I believe, either through the Rotary or through the Chamber of Commerce and so on. Different people volunteer their time to deliver meals to seniors and so on. And I know for a fact that some of those seniors, basically some of the only people that they see are the people that bring them meals. And they've had to close that down, I believe, stop doing that. And that's got to be hard for seniors. They look forward to that. It's like, I won't say Christmas, but if somebody come into the house, somebody to say hi to, that isn't happening any longer. And so I think a lot of the volunteer groups and so on take this opportunity to thank them for the work that they've been doing and keep up what they can do and so on in this troubled time. And hopefully things will change around soon, but I don't think it will. I think we're in for the long haul, as they say. So. But is there anything else further of council or councilors that you wish to say or comment on?
Again,
Go ahead.
Again, I'm just gonna say, I know this is only gonna be coming out in April live. Hopefully by then things have calmed down, but I still am hoping that everyone out there just stays safe, takes care of themselves, takes care of their family, friends, community. This is something we've never seen before and hopefully we'll never see again. So anyways, I just want everyone to take care.
Okay, on that note then, there was no in camera, so I'd be looking for a motion at this time to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. Thank you very much, councillors. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you.